Okay, hi. My name is Ben Cooper, and my project was to learn Adobe LightRoom. I dabbled a little bit in Photoshop for several years. Not very good. I'm quite novice, but I knew LightRoom existed and that this was supposed to be an easier way to edit your photos. Always wanted to learn it, so this was my excuse to be able to learn LightRoom. How did I do it? Well, I started out by watching YouTube videos. It's a little bit overwhelming, and one of the questions was, what challenged you or made you feel most uncomfortable? And I think that was it. It's just so overwhelming. It's such a big undertaking. There's so many different ways to accomplish different things, and the program itself is so powerful, it's hard to know where to start. So I did watch some kind of basic, rudimentary, introductory level YouTube videos that were really great instructional videos. They're 15 to 20 minutes. I watched several of them. I watched people edit photos just to see how they did it. And I really think that this project was a prime example of Kolb's experiential learning. The concrete experiences, so I'm going to kind of go through the Kolb cycle here. The concrete experiences were the videos that I watched, which were fairly like kind of passively intaking information, but the next step of reflection and sitting down, pausing the videos, thinking about some of the concepts made it more real. And then the third piece was the abstract conceptualization. So thinking about some of these very difficult concepts that I mentioned of white balance and hue, saturation, luminance, split toning, detail and lens corrections, thinking about some of those concepts and how I would incorporate them in my own photos, my own kind of, I'm a novice photographer, but I was thinking specifically about some landscape photographs that I took that I really wanted to edit. And then that's where the fourth part of the cycle came in, is the active experimentation. So actually taking the time to play with some of these techniques that I was learning in the YouTube videos, that's what really kind of solidified it and it made it more real. And I think that even after practicing that active experimentation, repeating the cycle and reflecting again and seeing how I could improve became like a really important iterative process throughout my learning experience. So I'm going to kind of go through some of these questions, and then I'm going to show you some of the photos that I edited. What did you intend to learn? Well, I intended to learn LightRoom. Have I learned it? No, it's a massive program, but I think I have some understanding, and I've kind of set the cogwheel in motion, and I'm ready to continue the journey. What did you actually learn? Basic LightRoom. I already talked about the challenge. What would you do differently if you were to engage in this journey again? And I think that I would love to sit down and kind of incorporate more of that social learning aspect, sit down with someone who actually knows what they're doing, ask them questions, watch them edit photos, bounce ideas off of them, and I think that that would make it even more impactful. What did you do well, and should you use in other learning experiences? Well, I actually took the time to think about experiential learning and reflect, and I've learned throughout this course that reflection is such a key component of learning. It's not something I do well, and now to actually be cognizant and aware of reflection, take the time to do it, I think was key throughout this process, and it's something that I've learned throughout this course in general. And with whom should I share what I've learned? My brother's really into photo editing, so I'm going to kind of bounce some of these things off him and get him, up to speed on LightRoom as well. And what will I do as a result of my learning? I think moving forward, I will incorporate some of these practices when I instruct my residents for learning. I'm going to counsel them to make reflection an everyday part of their practice, whether it be on shift and or off shift, to think about patients and the interactions that they've had and the things that they could learn, what could they read about, and sit down and really just reflect on the management of patients, and maybe even more importantly, reflect on the humanistic elements. I work in the emergency department, so sometimes we can have some really harrowing experiences, some humbling experiences, and if you don't take the time to think about it, you miss it, and you kind of lose that human element that we all went into medicine to begin with for anyways. So I think that reflection is a really key thing of what I'm going to do as a result of this learning. I'm going to show some photos now. They're landscape photos that I took in Colorado. And the purpose of the editing was to really bring out some of the color that I thought I experienced when I was there. One of the photos that you're seeing right now was taken after a period of a lot of rain, and it was so green. There were so many wildflowers, just so much life. You could hear it buzzing around you. And when I took the photo, it just kind of came out flat. And some of those colors in the foreground weren't as vibrant as I remembered them. So the goal was just kind of bring out some of that vibrance in the colors. And then another one that I'll show you right now, the sky itself was not as blue as I remembered. And it didn't capture just the grandiosity of the experience. So that was the goal, was just kind of to bring back some of that emotion. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.